This podcast is created as part of Podcast Lab by India Film Project in association with Anchor by Spotify. Hey everyone, once again I would like to welcome to yet another episode of Data Science Professional. We are trying to figure out in this series mostly that what kind of different roles and responsibility data science professionals is handling from their different domain and sector professional journey. Apart from it, what kind of educational background they have and how they have prepare their journey towards starting the career in this section. So in this episode, we have invited one of our guests who have joined with us. His name is Ravin Kumar, and we'll be going to get an idea about his journeys and his thoughts that how he looks towards data science and try to get some insights. So without wasting any time, I'll be welcoming our today's guest. Hey Ravin, hi, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yep. Glad. Oh, great. So, things are a bit very challenging right now. Okay, and we all are working from home. Okay, so let's discuss about how things are going on right now with you. Okay, and how much difficulty it is, or what are the positive things you see in this current time.
Well, yeah, this is a challenging one, a far-reaching one. I think the most positive thing I've seen, and if I keep it in a data science team, actually, is
Right.
I guess how big the online community has come together in this time. So many conferences have moved online. A lot of educational material has moved online, and that has just made it more. It's made it more accessible for sure, right? Like I'm able to go to conferences that were used to be for a certain region. Now people from any region can go to them. And actually another byproduct that I've liked is that these are typically recorded now, like this podcast, right? Before you had these in-person meetings, these data science or otherwise meetings, and the people there would have their conversations and whatnot, but they would be sort of lost to time except for the folks that are there. But now I've just noticed much more content coming onto YouTube, again, this podcast or other formats. So I feel like there's a bigger archive of things to look into or to listen to or to read. So that has been one silver lining given all the challenges that are going on right now.
Right. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense, because what my motive towards starting the podcasting is that I have listened to some podcasts, okay, and once I'll get to know the idea, okay, it makes a lot of sense and understanding got increased because during the pre-COVID times, okay, or before COVID, I used to attend different seminars and meetings that has been happening in different cities. So that will give us an idea that how things are going on, how other professionals are looking towards. But right now it's been, we are just bounded in our homes. So podcasting gives us a great chance apart from YouTube as well to look into the content and figure it out how we can proceed. Yeah, that's a great insight. Let's talk about, so we'll be starting about your initial journey. So let's talk about your grad situation, graduation situation, where during that period from the first year to the final year, we improve ourselves in a continuous way, okay, and we look at how we want our future to be, whether we'll be going for the post-graduation degree or we'll be going to join some firms, okay, and get some experience, and how we should be looking towards these things. So how things have been for you during these times?
So to be clear, was this during my education before I graduated or the first year after I graduated?
During graduation, how things are evolving for you.
Yeah, so my graduation, unfortunately, was quite a long time ago now, and I was in a completely different career. So I was a mechanical engineer at the time. It was actually very excited and hoping to become a race car engineer. Actually, for an F1 team, there was a team called Force India at the time, or a couple others. I really wanted to work for them. So my career had nothing. Data science or data or statistics was not even close to my radar at the time. But there were some common themes I had. Right, there had questions about how would I find this position? What would the growth path look like? Where would I be? So even though the career path was different, I think some of the questions I had at the time, I continue to have now. That's maybe a constant thread between data science and my mechanical engineering career of the past.
Right, a bit. So yeah, I think that make a lot of sense. And then how, because you're coming from mechanical stream initially, okay. So, from that vertical to getting into data science vertical, okay. So how you have, crawled your path through these, okay, and figure it out that this is what I really want to do, okay. And this is where you are right now.
No, that's good. I actually like that you use the word crawled, because it was definitely slower than I would have liked it to be. I wish it was a sprint or a straight line. So what happened, to sort of close out that story, it turns out it's really hard to get a job in a Formula One team. They're very, very competitive. And I did not get a job at a Formula One team, surprise. But I did get a job at a factory that makes oil tools. It was a multinational company called National Oil Bolivarco. They're based in India and Europe and Americas and all over Saudi Arabia. Just all over the place. So I got my job there. I was designing parts, or designing the manufacturing systems and the factory, to be precise. So what happened is this oil tools factory would make these enormous parts. These parts are like 20 meters long. They could be a couple of tons. So I think like a couple thousand kilograms, maybe 2,000, 3,000 kilograms. So really, really big oil tools, oil parts. And this company they would want to make more, right? Or they'd want to make them better or more efficiently. And to do that, they needed these big pieces of machinery. They're called horizontal boring mills or CNC machines, and they would cost multi-million dollars, $3, $4, $5 million. And naturally, the question they would ask, this was my job, was they would ask me, since I was the one who helped figure out how the parts should be made, like which machines they should go on, they then ask me, if we bought this particular piece of machinery, would our factory become more efficient? Like, would we reach our business objectives better?
No, right.
At the time,
analyzing the product, right?
Exactly. And at the time, I was not savvy with data science, right? So I didn't know how to use Python or Pandas or any of these tools, but I did know how to use Excel for my college degree. And being a younger person at the company, I knew Excel better than most. So it was a matter of, now I can say it was a matter of, extracting the data from the ERP system, loading it into Excel, if you want to call it loading it, and then going through and finding out how many parts are we supposed to make, how long do they take, and how much money would we save. And I actually found that to be very interesting. I found that to be much more interesting than my actual job of figuring out how to build the parts. So that was my first spark into analyzing data. Actually seems to be more fun than being a mechanic.
Got a test of it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Got the test of it, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly like you said. So from there, like you said, it was a long crawl, maybe like 6-7 years, depending on how you count, from learning all these skills that I'm sure I've actually heard others talk about on this podcast. So moving from Excel to Python, learning pandas, statistics. So the career just escalated from there. After that, I went to SpaceX, and my primary job was to analyze the supply chain systems and build them at that particular company. So there is where I got a lot of SQL experience, Tableau, started diving more into statistics, things like that. From there, moved on to a company called Sweetgreen that was a restaurant. By this point, I had learned about Bayesian statistics, or at least been introduced to it. It turned out to be very useful for me at SpaceX. So started contributing to open source. And that's how, after that, I ended up at Google. Now I'm a data scientist there, and full-on data scientist. So I think I've successfully made the career transition now, but it was, a longer journey from that initial spark.
Right. So I think if we can connect to the first job, okay. to the final where you are right now? It's almost how many year of experience in a rough way?
So yeah, this depends on how you count. It's kind of crazy, but my first job was a decade ago. I took a break to get a grad degree, so maybe you can take out those 2 years, but I would count it somewhere between probably for data science proper, probably a 6-year transition. So I have to say, I read all these articles about becoming a data scientist in like 1 month or 1 year, things like that. Definitely was not my experience. It was a much longer time frame.
Okay, right. So we can say that for almost a decade you are into the professional field, and around 6 to 7 years in the data science, right?
That sounds about right.
Right. So so I'll go some other details within this journey as well. Because you are from mechanical, okay, and you have analyzed the data, you have figured it out that these are the capable things, and I will be looking this as my career, right? So you ever feel that I need to have some learning as well, okay, or go for certain courses as well, and what kind of courses you have figured it out, okay, that had made you more capable in understanding the data science, and how that courses has helped? So could you put on a bit of light?
Of course, there were. So I would say there were a lot of processes that I thought would work that did not work at all, and then there were 2 in particular that worked really well. So let me start with the ones that didn't work, because maybe I'll help others reassess or figure that out.
Absolutely, failures are great learning, right?
Yeah. Well, the first biggest one was, should I go back and get my PhD in stats or something like that? Clearly, that's a very effective way to get a data scientist job, because there's a lot of PhD statisticians and things like that. It's a very big commitment to go get a PhD. I mean, I already thankfully had a bachelor's and a master's, so I wouldn't be starting up from scratch. But even from there, it would have been a 5-year journey. So for a while, I struggled with this. It's like, should I go back or should I not? Thankfully, I didn't, because I didn't need to. This is not to say don't get a PhD if you want one, but if you're just trying to get one to get a data science job, I personally would not advise it. The second one that I tried, I'd say it worked a little bit. It worked at the beginning, but isn't a long-term strategy, is taking those massive online courses. So like a Udacity or Coursera, things like that. I think it's good to start, right? If you haven't done deep learning or something like that, like that's a great place to get pre-contained material in a nice format. But after a while, you stop learning a lot from those platforms, and they don't get you to a final job. They just teach you more random skills. So I'd say that'd be good for the beginning. Things that didn't work at all. I went on this HackerRank type of leak code interview things. That wasn't good. Memorizing probability distributions and textbook problems also was not a good path. I went on enough of that. The things that actually did help were practical experience. So either on the job, but I say the most valuable one actually was in open source. By far open source. So even I want to say this very explicitly. I think people might get the impression that because I worked at SpaceX or something like that, that's how I ended up getting a data science job. I would actually say the reason I got a data science job was I decided to start contributing to open source on a whim, and that by and large had the biggest effect for a number of reasons. So I'd say open source and hands-on experience are your best path there.
Right, absolutely. Even what I feel that once we are find out that this is the field I want to be, okay, then we start making connections around it, and the community is really there for data science. The community is there, and we can figure it out that what are the open source tools are available, and once you start working on it, so it makes a lot of sense to figure it out during that path and make the next best decision that is possible. I think that's more rely towards it, right? Now I wanna currently or even from the last 5 to 6 years till now, we have seen a lot of improvement and capable increase in the data science. Right, like its field has been broadened in a much larger way. We are seeing right now NLP engineer, machine learning engineer, data analyst. Apart from it, there are other capable verticals which are just opening the branches within the data science. So how you think, okay, that the path for the data science will be available in the next 2 or 3 years, where a lot of metaverse will be there, or even there is a 5G or 6G implementations that will be improving the technology in a very broader way, and there's a lot of data I think will be there. So how you think this data science will reform or transform itself?
Those prediction questions are always the hardest. So one I'll say is, I think you hit a lot of it, right? That the field seems like it's here to stay. It's definitely, even in the time that I've been in, which is a very short period of time, it's evolved a lot from like, let's say when I first started with data science, there weren't these libraries, right? There were like libraries like, let's say, TensorFlow or PyTorch or these deep learning frameworks. People were still coding neural networks largely by hand, right? But now there's a mature code bases around them that have a couple of iterations. There's more examples and people. So I don't see that trend stopping, even just maybe in the deep learning space. Like you also said, and as we talked about a little bit earlier on this podcast, the world definitely, digital is here to stay, whether we're forced into digital from COVID or not. It just, with food ordering being digital, or like you said, it pushes into new technologies, whether they're good or not. I say the metaverse or Web3 or whatnot, there's still digital technologies that give off data, right? So kind of primed for analysis of some sort. So I see the overall field growing. I think you also alluded to this, which is another good one, is that there's more nuanced roles that are coming out. So even again, when I started applying to data science jobs, even in 2016 or so, data scientist could mean so many different things. These days it could mean like machine learning engineer, or it could mean data engineer, or it could mean data analyst. Like, they're all grouped under this one umbrella. But I think a lot of organizations are finding the nuances, like data analyst, machine learning engineer, research engineer, whatever they may be. So I think the individual companies and folks are finding their niches in certain sub areas. And then I'll say there's a part that I probably don't even have a good prediction on, right? Like, there's probably something really amazing that's going to happen that I don't even know, that I can't even see on my radar. And I'm kind of curious to just see what that will end up being. There's so much research going on in novel techniques. There's so many new sorts of organizations or companies that are being created, that between the innovation in industry and the innovation in academia, there's something amazing and unexpected could happen. Just with so many people.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit can be predicted right now, but a lot still need to be figured out, right? And we can just look around it. Great. So it's a great journey and the great discussions of the capable nuances that we have discussed. Let's talk about the book that you have recently published. Okay, along with two other co-authors. So that is Bayesian modeling and computation in Python, right? Can you tell us a bit about how you have approached towards it? Okay, what made you think around it and to go ahead and publish such capable?
Yeah, there were a number of reasons to publish the book. I'd say just listing them off, maybe not even in importance order. One is I learned so much from data science authors or folks that put stuff into print or onto the internet, that writing a book seemed like a way to give back to the community. Especially, I'm going to give a plug. The book is completely free at BayesianComputationBook.com, and you can read it on open access. You don't have to even buy the book. So it was one way to just go back and give back to the data science community. Another reason though is that I would say, when you talked about growing into data science, there was a large period of my time where I was sort of lost in data science. Between neural networks and decision trees and random forests and all these sorts of things, for maybe, let's say, traditional frequency statistics, I wasn't able to find a way I could use data at the companies that I worked at. So I wasn't building a recommender system. I wasn't classifying images. So I really felt like there was a way to use data at the organizations I was at and in my particular role, but those particular tools didn't work for my situation. I happened to chance upon Bayesian statistics and it was perfect. It was exactly what I needed. The challenge I found, and this took me another 2 or 3 years of learning, was how to apply computational Bayesian tools to my day-to-day work. I eventually was able to piece together with the help of my co-authors and the community and the Stan and PyMC and greater computational Bayesian community, but it was scattered and all over the place. So the idea of the book was consolidating all the, well, not all, but a large portion of the thought process and tools and methodologies for using computational Bayes and putting it into one resource. So if somebody's specifically interested in computational Bayes, now they have a reference and a guidebook of how to apply it.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and it's even the kind of thought that you are going on with, that to get something from community and just giving back is what I can really like it. So now, I want to open some other main points that how right now, because I'm working in the data science field as well. Okay, I'm still fascinated by some, and I see that there will be some new things that will be going to be involved with the data science, and I'm really fascinated by the sorry, I'm just missing the name. It's quantum computing. So I got a chance to see some research and some TED Talks around it. I found out that the kind of capability that quantum computing is giving right now, okay, and the kind of futuristic approach it has is, completely revolutionizing. So I just want to understand that how you think. This is my perspective, that how I think that data science will be having some more verticals and some new capabilities that will be coming around. So as per your mass experience, how you think that the next capable tools and technology will be there, okay, and current data science professional must take a look or even learn to make themselves more comfortable in the upcoming time?
I mean, I think one thing that I've learned the hard way is there's going to be a lot of new exciting things in data science for sure. Every day there's a new paper published, or like you said, some new technology or some new method coming out. And for a while I would always try and learn that, right? I'd try and learn the newest LSTM method or some new gradient boosted tree library from like CatBoost to XGBoost or whatever. But I think my advice would be those discoveries only come from people that understand the fundamentals. And I want to stress that rather than, especially if you're starting, really get an understanding of the fundamentals of your space, and be able to navigate that in your head or through code quite easily. And then I would then move my focus to what the future is going to be. It's just there's so much going on so fast that it's be challenging to keep up. The people that are making these discoveries have been working on them for a really long time. That's not to say that you can't do that, or if you as a listener can't do that, but it would be, you're better off on a solid foundation than sort of going from one place to another.
Right, I think that makes a lot of sense. So what I really feel right now is that in data science, most of freshers that are studying in the colleges, they for them making transition into data science is right now pretty hard, because the market is open currently for for the major part around 3 to 8 years of experience, and for the initial level freshers getting into the data science, they feel a bit really hard, because I'll be interacting with a lot of students recently. So for them, this thought that you have said, that building the foundation will help to at least make some good understanding around it, or so that these kind of capable skills I have, and this can be used within that professional requirement that will be available. So yeah, one thing I just wanna get from you is that what you suggest for apart from what we have discussed, for freshers that they should look, okay, or the quality that they should choose or understand, because during that period it's really hard to understand a lot of things. So some basic 5 or 6 points that you want to mention for freshers to understand and learn at the beginning level.
I mean, so I'll just give you my one advice and say this is the most impactful thing, and it's
Right.
repeating the same thing, but I will say it again as many times as it takes. Is contribute to open source. I think contributing to open source is honestly the best path. I'm going to say that very bluntly because it has so many benefits to it, right? One is you by applying, you're directly applying your skills. You don't have to get into a company. The open source is there. The open source tools are used at companies. So by contributing to Pandas, NumPy, or PyMC, or RVs, or any one of these tools, you're going to learn what that particular thing does, and you're going to learn it really well. So that's the way you can learn for yourself. The second thing you'd already mentioned a little bit before as well is you build a community. So you're getting to interact with people that are already leaders in the data science field, right? They're the ones that are making the tools, those maintainers, and you just get to know them, right? You'll learn about their career paths. They'll get to know you. The folks that show up become noticed pretty quickly. And that's the, let's say, the open source part. The other part is then when you go to an organization like a Google or any other company, your resume will show both your school experience, but then it'll also show, well, it'll show two things, right? It'll very publicly and verifiably show that you are able to contribute production grade code, which is incredibly important. And it'll show that you have an initiative to independently go and solve projects. And now you've answered a lot of questions. Do you know data? Yes. Do you know programming? Yes. Can you work on your own in a little bit of an ambiguous environment? Yes. Can you work with others? Yes. So I feel like open source is a unique area to demonstrate all this at once. And I think that is by far the most impactful and per time ratio investment you can make if you're trying to get into data or programming in general, if you're even CS.
Right. I think this really help. I think for the freshers or even we as a data scientist or somebody who want to transition into data science, that if you are contributing towards open source or towards some community, you can really make yourself visible towards that, and from there you can grow further, right? So that makes a lot of sense. So coming to the last section where we mostly discuss about what you are currently into, like what kind of things you are into right now, okay, how you will be analyzing or doing things at your level, and how you'll be seeing yourself in upcoming 2 or 3 years, the kind of capabilities that you'll be handling, a bit of idea.
Sure. If I understood the question correctly, it's what am I working on currently, and then where will I be going in the next couple of years?
Right, in a generic way. Absolutely.
So currently I'm really focused on trying on this thing called decision science, or the subfield of data science called decision science. And so the idea is in an organization, using data to help stakeholders or leaders make a decision of some sort. So different than a prediction algorithm, like a neural network type of algorithm that's classifying images like as a car or a horse or whatnot, over thousands of images or tens of thousands or millions of images. I'm more so trying to understand how can I leverage data that's in the organization and some level of statistics to help drive an operational decision. So that spans both data skills, so Bayesian statistics, for instance, or any sort of statistics, but also communication and I'll say like quote unquote MBA sort of skills. So that's the direct career that path that I'm going in right now. And then the other is just sort of an offshoot of the book, like you mentioned, giving back to the community. Is I really would like to become a better data science leader, and this doesn't mean manager or director like that has a budget in org, but it's more so that like you said, there's a lot of new folks coming into data science. The field itself is growing, and I find it pretty rewarding to help an organization, or whether that be one in a company or even like open source, how to help them form and navigate and turn out something good, maybe a new functionality in PyMC or something at work. So
just improve the capabilities in what way possible, right?
Yeah, of the people especially.
Right. So I think that's a great insightful discussion that we have, and thanks for finding out the time, okay, and interacting with us and figuring it out that what kind of journey and capabilities that you have gone through till now. And it really make a lot of sense, and a lot of folks who are not graduating by choosing a data science or a computer science as a career can relate with the kind of discussions we have, right? That how they can navigate and figure out that whether this field is really for them, or it's just they are trying to make a navigation because of the boom. So thanks for this talk. Any last thing that you want to say to our listeners?
No, I really appreciate you folks putting on this podcast and again sharing this information. So like you said, there's so many people that are trying to get into data science, and you're providing this resource for them. So I appreciate it.
Great. Thanks Ravin, and see you soon.
Subscribe to the channel and don't forget to press the bell icon.